For much of the 20th century, the American dream seemed unshakable, a silent pact between effort and reward. All it took was hard work, they said, and success would only be a matter of time. But slowly, the cracks began to appear. First in the forgotten suburbs, then in the big cities. Today, beneath the artificial glow of metropolises, an uncomfortable truth echoes silently. The promise of prosperity is dead, and no one wants to admit it. On the avenues that once symbolized victory, foreclosed. Homes, shuttered businesses, and exhausted families surviving on credit and hope multiply. The smiles in advertisements no longer match the empty expression of those who have lost control of their own lives. America is running, but no longer knows where. Consumption has become anesthesia, work a prison, and freedom a memory sold in installments. While the government talks about recovery, millions live on the brink, pretending nothing has changed. But collapse isn't in the future. It's already begun. And the scariest thing is that few realize it. What really happened to the American dream? In this video, you will discover the 7 hidden signs that prove it's over and why the worst is yet to come. If you want to understand what's really behind the end of the American dream and how it could change the future of the entire West, subscribe now to the channel and leave a like. What you'll see in this documentary will reveal what no one has the courage to show about the new face of America. The American collapse didn't arrive like an explosion, but like a silent fever that spreads without fanfare. It manifests itself in the little things, in the shelves that seem full, but with ever-diminishing products, in the clean streets, but overrun with invisible people, in the weary voices of those who work all month long just to make ends meet. The gears keep turning, but they no longer produce prosperity. They produce survival. What was once a symbol of abundance has become a portrait of collective exhaustion. Once vibrant cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Baltimore have now become ghosts of their former selves. Abandoned factories bear witness to a past of grandeur that no longer exists. In the suburbs, the green lawn and 2-story houses, the ultimate symbol of the American dream, have been replaced by trailers, unpayable mortgages, and debts spanning generations. Millions live in silence, without access to healthcare, quality education, or even minimal stability. There is no visible collapse because the system has learned to hide its own symptoms. It masks the ruin with advertising campaigns and artificial smiles. Inequality is no longer a line on a graph, it's a wall between worlds. While a few amass unimaginable fortunes, most struggle to maintain their dignity. Poverty rates rise, but are softened by technical terms that disguise desperation. Statistics speak of economic adjustment, but on the streets, what we see is hunger, discouragement, and the slow disappearance of a middle class that sustained the myth of social mobility. The country that claimed to be the land of opportunity now seems like a minefield of illusions, where every misstep could mean the loss of everything. There is something deeply symbolic in this process. America is still standing, but the nation's soul is fragmenting. The collapse is not just material. It is moral, emotional, and spiritual. It is reflected in the empty gaze of those who no longer believe in the future. And it is in this gaze that the true disease is revealed, the belief that everything remains normal. But if the symptoms are so visible, why doesn't anyone seem to react? This is the question that leads to the most uncomfortable truth, the one no one wants to admit, but which explains why the American dream perhaps was never real. No empire crumbles overnight. Decline begins in the invisible cracks, in the decisions made by a few that affect millions. America, built on the ideal of freedom and opportunity, has slowly been shaped to serve another purpose: limitless profit. Behind every patriotic slogan, there is a contract. Behind every political promise, an unspoken clause. And it is in this terrain of illusions that the collapse has found deep roots. For decades, the economy was marketed as a meritocratic game, but the board always belonged to the same players. Banks, corporations, and governments created an ecosystem where ordinary people became commodities, a machine, driven by debt, dependence, and a false sense of choice. The expansion of credit, presented as a symbol of prosperity, was actually a silent trap. Millions bought homes, cars, and educations with money they never owned. And when the system collapsed, it wasn't the powerful who footed the bill. While the middle class struggled to hold on to what they had gained, those in control profited from their desperation. Investment funds bought repossessed homes, banks received billion-dollar bailouts, and the media softened the blow, turning tragedies into statistics. The American dream was transformed into a consumer product, packaged, sold, and discarded. What was left was an exhausted, indebted, and emotionally bankrupt country, trapped in a cycle that repeats itself generation after generation. But there's something even more disturbing. The collapse wasn't just tolerated, it was planned. A model that thrives on the failure of others doesn't seek balance, it seeks dependence. America isn't collapsing by accident. It's being consumed from within, fueled by a system that has learned to profit from ruin. And if the system can no longer be fixed, what next? The answer may be more frightening than the collapse itself, because the consequences have already begun, and they don't come from outside. They come from the very heart of the nation. What happens when a country begins to lose its soul? When the economy grows in the reports, but the people languish in the statistics? The consequences of the American collapse are not limited to numbers. They are visible on street corners, in schools, and in silent homes that no longer harbor conversations, only worries. Decline has ceased to be a prediction and has become an everyday sight. Fear, once abstract, now has an address, a face, and a name. Small towns are disappearing first. Neighborhood stores close, hospitals reduce services, schools operate at half capacity. The American countryside, which once sustained the country, with work and faith, now lives on the brink of oblivion. It is there that we see the literal and symbolic emptying of what was once the heart of America. Entire families leave in search of opportunities that no longer exist. Those who remain survive amid a feeling of abandonment that spreads like a fog. The middle class, the pillar of the American promise, is collapsing. The cost of living is skyrocketing, wages remain stagnant, and debt has become the new form of modern slavery. Many live in a constant state of anxiety, not from a lack of luxuries, but from the fear of losing the basics. Food, housing, and healthcare have gone from being rights to privileges. The country that once exported hope now exports instability. There's also the psychological toll. Loneliness has become an epidemic. Emotional isolation is the new invisible plague corroding the social fabric. Amidst apparent technological abundance, a void grows that cannot be filled with consumption. America's collapse will not be marked by bombs or revolutions, but by indifference, by the inability to feel, to care, to believe. When a nation grows accustomed to despair, chaos ceases to be the exception and becomes routine. Tomorrow, once a symbol of promise, now sounds like a threat. But what if the worst hasn't happened yet? What if what we are seeing is just the prelude to something bigger, deeper, and inevitable? Tell us in the comments. Do you believe there's still a way back for America, or is decline already part of its destiny? Between the cold statistics and headlines that attempt to simplify the tragedy, there are stories that reveal the true scale of the collapse. Stories of people who believed, fought, and lost. James, 52, was an operator at an auto parts plant in rural Michigan. For 2 decades, he held the same job, paid taxes, and raised his children, believing that hard work would keep him safe. But when the company closed, the promise of stability evaporated. With rent behind and savings depleted, James found himself living in his van, parked in the same parking lot where he once bought his daily lunch. He still wears the old factory uniform, perhaps as a reminder, perhaps as a sign of resistance. When asked how he feels, he responds without anger, "I didn't lose my job, I lost the country I believed in." The phrase echoes like a collective diagnosis of a nation that has stopped recognizing its own citizens. Around him, there are thousands of other invisible faces, war veterans, sleeping on sidewalks, single mothers relying on food banks, young people accumulating debt before even earning their first paycheck. Poverty is no longer a line below the standard. It's a shadow that moves silently, covering ever more territories. James's drama is no exception. It's a mirror. It represents the loss of dignity of a people who worked, believing in a social pact that has simply been broken. And when a society begins to accept suffering as routine, something essential breaks. Not just in the streets, but in the collective consciousness. But to what extent can this human crisis be ignored before it reaches its limit? The answer lies in something few people notice, but which explains why despair is no longer the exception and has become the new normal. The true scale of the American crisis is not in the headlines, but in the numbers that rarely make it onto television. Today, more than 38 million people depend on food banks in the United States. It's the highest number since the Great Depression. 6 out of 10 workers live paycheck to paycheck, unable to deal with any financial emergency. More than 1 million students are homeless, sleeping in shelters, cars, or cheap motels. This is the new face of the largest economy on the planet. Inequality has reached historic levels. Percent richest, it concentrates almost half of the country's wealth, while the rest of the population shares what's left. This silent concentration is not the result of chance, but of a system that rewards speculation and punishes work. Large corporations reap record profits while cutting wages and benefits. Economic growth continues to be heralded with optimism, but prosperity no longer reaches the majority. The economy grows upward, not outward. Even with official figures suggesting recovery, the cost of living is rising faster than income. The average housing price is unattainable for nearly 70% of young adults. Higher education has become a lifelong burden, and access to public healthcare is a cruel lottery. What should be the exception has become the rule. The American dream survives only in advertisements and election speeches. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're symptoms of a structural collapse that the system tries to mask with the appearance of normality. Poverty isn't a flaw, it's part of the model. But there is an even more disturbing fact, and almost no one talks about it. Because behind the financial crisis, there is an invisible collapse that cannot be measured by graphs, but only felt in the growing silence of a society that has already begun to give up on itself. The American collapse isn't just in statistics, but in collective behavior. When an entire nation becomes accustomed to surviving instead of living, something essential is lost. A sense of purpose. Apathy spreads like a silent epidemic. Fear is no longer the exception, but has become routine. Millions wake up every day with the feeling that something is wrong, but they can no longer name the problem. It's the psychological collapse of a society that believed itself indestructible. The consequences are already clear. Consumption, once a symbol of prosperity, has become an anesthetic. People buy not out of necessity, but to forget the void that grows between one payment and the next. Technology, which promised connection, has created isolation. Social media, created to unite, has become showcases of despair and comparison. The result is a divided people, emotionally, fragmented and incapable of recognizing their own decline. The collapse of labor has also already begun. Thousands of traditional jobs are disappearing, replaced by algorithms and machines. Progress, sold as a solution, is creating a new form of poverty, digital, invisible, and even more cruel. An entire generation is growing up believing that effort no longer guarantees anything. When merit no longer works, desperation becomes the new engine of the economy. But the darkest aspect of this crisis may not lie in the economy nor in politics. It lies in collective faith. The belief that tomorrow will be better has vanished. The country that once sold hope to the world has now become hostage to an uncertain future, where fear trumps work. America is learning what it has always avoided admitting. Empires don't just fall from the outside, they rot from the inside. And if the present already seems like a collapse, what can we expect from tomorrow? This is the question that hangs like a shadow over every empty street, every closed factory, and every lost gaze. Because what comes next may not just be the end of an era, but the beginning of something much deeper, darker, and irreversible. The American collapse didn't begin with the stock market crash or rising inflation. It began the moment compassion ceased to be a priority, when society began to measure human worth in numbers. Moral bankruptcy preceded economic bankruptcy. Amid technological advancement and apparent comfort, an invisible poverty grew, a poverty of meaning. Millions live surrounded by everything they longed for, yet increasingly distant from everything that truly matters. America didn't just lose jobs, it lost the ability to dream collectively. Today, what remains is a country divided between those who pretend not to see and those who have already given up fighting. The system remains in place, but the nation's soul seems absent. The collapse is neither explosive nor cinematic. It is slow, everyday, almost imperceptible. It manifests itself in every automatic gesture, in every resigned silence, in every glance that averts itself from the suffering of others. The true collapse is internal. And yet, there is something profoundly human in this whole tragedy. Because decline also reveals, it exposes what was hidden, forces a nation to look at itself without disguise. Perhaps the end of the American dream is not the end of everything, but the beginning of an uncomfortable truth that no empire survives when it forgets the empathy that sustained it. America stands before its mirror, and the reflection is hard to face. What will become of this country when the lights finally go out? When the last symbol of success no longer means anything? Collapse is not the end of a story, but a call to rethink what is truly worthwhile. If this video made you reflect, subscribe now. Here we reveal what the newspapers keep silent about, what the powerful hide, and what America tries to forget. Because understanding the end is the first step to recognizing the beginning, and perhaps there's still time for that.